years ago, I persuaded my friend Colin McDonnell to give a talk on Switch gaming here at GAConf, but ill health put the brakes on it. Now it's too late. Colin died unexpectedly last December, surrounded by his loving family. He was 29. This video is a tribute, a record of how our paths crossed, and of how he became an accessible gaming legend. This is Colin with OT Paula Spencer giving a 2019 talk on communication, gaming and assistive technology.
I am the youngest of 6. All my siblings are very competitive and all enjoy playing video games. I could only watch. They would play the game for me under my instruction, but that's not fun. But not anymore. Now, I am the competition.
Colin started his Switch accessible education in 1994, as did I. Aged 1, he started with an AbleNet Big Red Switch. With this, he could bring a dormant Switch-adapted toy to life. This stage is as far as some get. Colin could do more. One step on his penguin coaster was given a coloured dot to see if he could stop a penguin there. That's scan and select. As a toddler, Colin used a pictorial clock communicator to help if he couldn't make himself understood. A switch could start and stop the movement of the clock hand pointer around a small selection of communication cards. In this case, stopped on a sad face entitled "Something's Wrong." For those with literacy difficulties, text alternatives are essential. Aged 4, Colin progressed to an alpha talker. Here, a switch or two could be used to move an LED light around a grid of up to 32 communication items, using row and column, scan and select.
Yes, please. You would like a drink as well, sir?
By 8, Colin was using text with far more powerful communication devices. Colin loved board games with his family, using Switch-adapted dice. Games included Frustration, Shut the Box and various Monopolies. Finding Switch-accessible toys with appeal to older children remains difficult, and many that do quickly go out of production.
Colin fires a Switch-operated Nerf gun at the camera operator.
Early PC access used the Crick Switch interface and clicker software. This inspired a hunt for games that would use the spacebar and enter key. Finding suitable Switch-accessible games can be difficult. Life got harder still in 2017 when Nintendo gave the search term Switch games an entirely new meaning. Support for better accessibility tagging and labelling in online stores is still sorely needed. One PC game Colin later enjoyed was William Pilgrim's accessibility mod of the gorgeous but diamond-hard Dragon's Lair. Features included an in-game press your button now indicator with bleep, compatibility with most Switch interfaces, auto and manual menu scanning, a one press to win movie mode, full screen or windowed, an infinite lives option, and the ability to start from and skip any stage. Colin and I wouldn't meet for many years. I was born on Canvey Island, below sea level, in 1972. My first spoken phrases were open door and switch on regarding the TV. My favourite word at 2 was broken as regards my battery and clockwork toys. Living by the English coast, we were rarely far from amusement arcades, full of magical machines you could bring to life with a drop of a coin and push of a button. The first video game I played was Atari Sky Raider. My dad lifted me throughout so I could simultaneously see the screen and use the controller. Uncomfortable, but mesmeric. One lucky day in summer 1982, my brother and I received an Atari VCS bundled with Space Invaders and Combat. Of note, Invaders features a team play option where one player moves and the other fires with a single button. I remember reading a letter from John Dutton in the Atari Owners Club bulletin. He showed how he played using his mouth and weakened hand using a modified joystick. The following year, my family fostered children, some disabled too. We sold the Atari and upgraded to a Commodore 64. I recall my brother making a light sensor for it through the joystick port for a school project. Schools across the land benefited from a huge push by the government and the BBC to boost computer literacy in the 1980s. For computer studies, I wrote a Little Professor-inspired maths game designed to be easy to use and with a 2-button front menu. Whilst working as a rudderless computer operator in London, my mum gave me Scalagrig by William Horwood to read. It has disability history, assistive technology, fantasy and gaming. I loved it. I fell into work as a day centre officer at Thurrock Care Special Care Unit in 1994. Here, I met adults far more learning and physically disabled than I'd ever come across before, and I felt a bit lost initially. Something that was instantly familiar was the BBC Micro and Master computers there. What was alien was the range of input methods: touchscreens, gated joysticks, large wooden switches, a speed controller and specialised software. Brilliant Computing's range stood out to me with ultra-low pressure games and activities and useful accessibility options. I started to think about what else might be possible with equipment I had at home. One day, in a music therapy group where percussive instruments were being played hand over hand by staff, I wondered about Judy Smith. Judy would react with teary-eyed delight when hearing music special to her. I'd also seen her use switches to control music on tape in old photos. I decided to try Judy with a song she could play note by note by tapping a joystick. She was interested, if not overly impressed with chiptune ABBA, but it was her performance at least. It gave me a boost to find more and better. Ideas and work flowed fast. Switch art, music, games, toys, light synths, low-stakes gambling, bowling machines, a lone library and more. Supporting this were the switch and joystick interfaces I built at home from 1995 onwards, some with full remapping and Copilot. Letters were sent to Atari and Sony encouraging them to do similar. In 2001 we were told that our service would be changing. Much was discarded in the upheaval. It led to me registering oneswitch.org.uk in 2002 to give my Switch accessible work a lifeline. I thought if I could make a difference to one person's life, who I'd never met before, it'd be worth it. And if I can meet like-minded people, even better. Unfortunately for Switch users, game controllers were steadily becoming more complex and demanding. Fine analogue control was a big problem. Worse still, games needing motion and gesture tracking. Switch adapting an X-Arcade stick in 2004 for some access to analogue thumbsticks wasn't perfect. Some mods seemed to be haunted by ghostly goings-on. Far better in 2007 was to fit a custom Ultimark iPack, normally used for MAME arcade gaming, and 27 Switch sockets to a Dreamcast arcade stick. I called it the Game Console Switch Interface Deluxe, or CSID for short. The first CSID I sold was to Special Effect in March 2008. This was alongside training and other equipment to help them with their early road shows. That same month, unaware of one another, Paula Spencer at the William Merritt Centre was inquiring about accessible gaming for their Switches for Kids project.
I met Paula when I was at high school in a group called The Lost Boys. She came to a group run by our speech and language therapist, Josh Mars, set up to encourage use of our communication aids. We had 45 minutes gaming, and half an hour using our AAC, to chat about the games, who was the best player, me, of course, and what adaptations were needed. We can talk, when we have something to talk about.
We used an early F1 racing game on PS2, with a CSID. It was quickly obvious that Colin would be able to use more than one switch. He didn't like it if I tried to steer whilst he moved forward, because I wasn't good enough. He could easily use 3 switches in the early days.
I was hooked.
I offered to look for charity funding to get his own CSID, but the family went to a car boot sale to raise the money, as they said other people needed the money more than he did.
This is Colin's CSID being tested on a GameCube before I posted it out. Here's Colin at home at Christmas playing PS1 Crash Team Racing on a PS2 against either brother Chris or sister Janine. A great game with simple controls. For games with complex controls, Colin needed to play in a team, delegating out what he couldn't manage. In Ocarina of Time here, Maxine would also need to swap Colin's switches around, like a 1920s telephone exchange operator, so he could better fight or explore as needed. Maxine said Colin often got annoyed with her back then, if it was her fault that they died. She'd played Zelda before on the N64, so she should have known better. By summer 2013, Colin could only manage 2 head switches accurately, but by then, with much help, I had the fledgling one-switch pulse system working.
Just had my first match on FIFA 14. I drew because they scored in the last minute. I always wanted to be able to play a football game.
Colin, Maxine and I worked hard to find and adapt games for 2-switch, and soon after, when needed, 1-switch play. The charity Special Effect and Clever Sausages, Jefferson Titan Kopi, Rio Joytaki Okubo, Clive UCR Galloway and Shaul Vijoy Isakovic were pivotal in this ever working. Tekken 6 proved to be very popular, although Colin could be ruthless.
Colin plays Tekken against 2 opponents who are operating the second character.
No, we've got him, come on.
Colin! Yeah! No!
Colin cheers as he absolutely destroys his opponents.
So annoyed now. I'm gonna walk out of the room and go back to Traveller back up the hill and have a bit of a fruit chew.
Wait, we're going.
I'll go to Army Leisure Centre and have a bit of a... No, Colin, no!
Colin has nearly perfected the opponent on the second round.
Usually, to play a game independently, you would need to be able to do more than press one button. You would usually need to plug in an extra switch for every function you want to perform. However, I'm a one-switch user, so I need a way of giving my single switch more than one function. I do this by using a laptop as my controller, with 2 pieces of software, Joy2Key and UCR. Using these 2 pieces of software, I can now use a single switch to play Mario Go-Kart Racing independently. Now, you're going to ask yourself how. Well, basically, Joy2Key needs programming, so when I hit my switch once, I turn left. When I hit my switch the second time, I turn right. And whilst holding my switch down, the weapon is deployed. Within the game settings, automatic accelerate needs to be turned on, and bumper sides needs to be turned on so I don't fall off the edge. Again, using a laptop as the controller, with Joy2Key and UCR pre-programmed, I can now play Tiger Woods with options to use the camera, aim, and take a shot, with additional controls if needed. The computer scans these options. While scanning, it also reads them out to me so I don't have to look at the screen. I then hit my switch when the function I want is highlighted. This then performs that action on the games console.
Aim. Cross.
Take shot.
Cross and circle.
Camera.
Aim. Cross.
Take shot.
Cross and circle.
Camera.
Aim.
Call of Duty could have been a lot more fun with simpler controls, infinite ammo, auto-aim and auto-fire options. Minecraft proved a nightmare to switch adapt with such complex controls. Colin tried iGaze, but he didn't get on with it. He did lay some bricks in the construction of the Minecraft William Merritt Centre, with most work done by Nathan Accessible Leeds Popple, using a foot switch to direct Maxine. Colin found a good number of games he could play brilliantly, remaining a huge Nintendo fan throughout. Maxine built all his later Switch interfaces, a CSID 2, then a small adapted joypad, following the One Switch do-it-yourself guides. Colin became an expert Apple user as their Switch access improved massively. Proloquo for text gave him his adult voice. One thing missing was a fixed point mode for One Switch users to allow them to tap or hold repeatedly at a fixed point on the screen. Colin and others asked nicely.
I have this problem when I want to play games also. If this can be fixed, then that's awesome.
And Apple made it happen.
Gaming helps people develop Switch or joystick skills, learn to anticipate, hit targets, make choices, learn timing skills. All the skills needed to use AAC, augmentative and alternative communication. My life, and my ability to communicate, changed since the day I became a gamer.
Colin put so much back out into the world. He freely shared his expertise and joy. He did this at William Merritt for over 10 years. He ran the local Boccia Club, a game he loved. He campaigned alongside Nathan for more changing places toilets, going in front of 99 councillors to explain why they are so important. See changingplaces.org for more, especially if you run an in-person event. He helped fundraise for Special Effect, supporting Game Blast every February between 2015 and 2022, including at home during the pandemic. And his influence lives on, such as with William Merritt supporting Game Blast 23 in tribute. He was a pleasure to know.
Colin has a huge smile on his face as he poses with a group at a Game Blast event. A Facebook post in which Colin has just beaten Soul Calibur. Accessible game-based comments. You legend. Colin replies.
Thanks. I know I am a legend.